Hey y'all, it's another Getting Real with Ashleydawn. I'm Ashleydawn, and I want to get real with you. For new followers, new subscribers, new people to my channel, you may be thinking, what is Getting Real about? What are you trying to do with your videos? Well, my whole goal of my videos is just to be me driving in a car like a normal person. I'm not normal, but driving in a car, just having conversations with my friends, that's you, about real life issues and how to navigate through life following Jesus and loving people, but understanding that I'm broken, you're broken, we're all broken, and we're going to need some grace, we're going to need some faith, we're going to need some hope, and we're definitely going to need some love. And God's love is the only love that is really true, honest love. So I'm making these videos because I want to share my faith, my hope, my love with y'all. But most importantly, I want to point you to the faith, hope, and love of Jesus Christ and God. And so I try to do these videos because I used to do videos that were me sitting down with a Bible in front of me. And that's great and that's wonderful. And I may do those again in the future. But I just realized that some people didn't understand it. Most of my friends, well, I can't even say most. I don't even know, like a survey. But I have some friends that have grown up in church. I have incredible pastors, mentors, leaders, awesome people of God that understand the Bible. But I have a lot of friends that don't, that have never been to church, that have been to church once or twice, that don't own a Bible. And so my videos are really more focused for them. Maybe you're watching this and you're like, I've never been to church a day in my life. Well, great. My videos are for you. Not that I want to replace church, not that I want to be a pastor to you. I want to be a friend that is taking your hand and putting your hand in Jesus's hand, if that makes sense. And some of the hardest, crappiest, yes, I said that word, this is getting real. I say a lot of stuff that probably other people don't. I don't have a filter, so there you go. But crappy moments in my life, my friends and Jesus, my best friend, have been there to hold me up. And so my videos, I hope, hold you up. I hope they encourage you. God made me to be an encourager at the nature of who I am. That's just who I am. Literally on my worst day, I'm still trying to encourage because it's my DNA from God. But I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying to give you hope. I'm trying to remind you that your best days are yet to come. So that's the whole background of why I do these videos, a little bit more about me, about my heart. I am a speaker. I speak all over, at churches, at conferences, at business meetings, as a motivational speaker, as an inspirational speaker, as a teacher, as a mentor, as a leader, as a voice to several different things. I have lots of different passions, and so places will hire me to come and speak to their organizations, to their groups, etc. So I do a lot of different things, but my heart is to encourage, and my heart is to inspire people not to give up on themselves or the life that God has given them. Because a lot of times life can suck the life out of you, meaning you could just be in a pit with no hope, thinking it's never going to get better than this. And that is the biggest lie, because yes, it is going to get better than that if you hold on. All you gotta do is hold on. So anyway, I was talking to my awesome neighbor Antoine this morning. He is moving, and me and my mom are very sad about it because he's been a great neighbor. He's lived there for 8 years. He's just been an awesome guy, awesome friend. He watches our house when we're not there. We watch his when he's not there. He's just an awesome dude. So I was backing up this morning, he's packing up his car, and I just told him, I said, we're really, really gonna miss you. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna miss y'all too. But it's time. And that words hit me something fierce in my spirit. It's time. And God was kind of churning it over. And it took a couple minutes. It was probably 10, 15 minutes before I said, you know what, I'm going to turn this camera on and I'm going to talk about it. But he said, it's time. His house, he was renting. He's a chef. His house he was renting was sold last year. And the new owners are getting ready to redo the whole thing, and then they're going to jack up the rent, which the rent is already crazy because our housing market is absolutely insane. Unless you work 3 jobs, which I do, you cannot afford to live in the area that I live in. So anyway, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. And he works several jobs. He's a chef at several different restaurants. Anyway, he said it's time. He bought a house. it's time. How do you know it's time to buy a house? When your landlord raises your rent and it's cheaper for you to buy a house and continue renting and making your landlord rich. God really hit my spirit something fierce and said, I make people uncomfortable when I want them to move, because sometimes they don't have the faith to move by themselves. They got to be forced to move. And that hit my spirit something fierce. Most of you know that a little bit ago I had a recent breakup, and it broke my heart a little bit, and it really hurt. And when I look back at it, it was time for it to be over. I was pouring myself out, and really getting nothing in return. The guy was doing the bare minimum, if that. He really had nothing to offer me of value. It was like I was bringing the table, I was putting everything on the table, I was setting everything up, and he was just coming to the table. Does that make sense? Like, no, he had nothing to offer me. But I wouldn't have moved unless God made me uncomfortable. I wouldn't have given up on that relationship unless God made me uncomfortable, which he did. And I'm healing, and it's a process, and it'll, continue to take time, whatever. But in that process, I kind of realized something about myself, in that I don't give up easily. I don't give up on people easily. I don't give up on jobs easily. People have said, prior jobs that I've had for years and years and years, why are you still there? You don't get treated very good. You don't get paid very good. Why are you still there? I really struggle with giving up on people, and I really struggle with giving up on places that I am, because I want to make it better. And so when I'm in a relationship, I'm always thinking, well, I can make this better. Well, I can make this better. When I'm in a job, well, I can make this better. And it's just my head. It's the way I was wired, and I'm very optimistic, and I always see the glass as half full, even when there's nothing in the glass, which is a problem that I'm working on, to just be more realistic. My daddy used to say all the time, Ashleydawn, you live in a fairy tale world, come back to reality. And sometimes I got to. But anyway, God was really working in my heart that he pushes us outside of our comfort zones when we're ready to fly. Think of a baby bird. The mom will feed it and, will let it stay in the nest. But when it knows that baby needs to fly, it'll push it up out of that nest. How many of us are little baby birds in that little nest? God, keep feeding me, keep feeding me. He's like, go fly. You got wings. I gave you wings. You're supposed to be flying. You're a butterfly that comes out of the cocoon. You're supposed to be flying. Stop trying to be a caterpillar and crawling across the ground. You're supposed to fly. Well, God also told me, how do you know that it's time? How do you know it's time that you got to go to the bathroom? Let's just be real. Things start happening. You start getting some pressure on your abdomen, on your bladder, on your, intestines. And, you're like, I got to go now. There is a, what's the word? There is like I don't even know the word. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. There is like a importance that it needs to happen now. When you have to go to the bathroom, you can hold it for like a little teeny bit. There's like a little window of holding it. And then you just got to go. Pregnant women that are pregnant, when that baby is ready to come and you start having contractions and your body starts, doing the stuff that women's bodies do, and you start dilating and stuff starts moving, you're trying to get that baby out, because it is time. It hurts. It's painful. Am I talking to anybody right now? Is your life painful right now? Does it hurt right now? What is God doing in it? What is God telling you? It's time. Is it time to move? Is it time to get a house? Is it time to, insert thing that it's time for? God's timing is perfect. Is it time to break up with that person that means good, that is bringing absolutely nothing good into your life, that is just like a vacuum that's sucking the life out of you, that's taking all your time and your energy and your sweetness and is not giving anything back? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to end that relationship. Maybe it's time to quit that job. Is your boss taking advantage of you? Can you pay your bills? Are you struggling? Maybe it's time to get a new job. Listen, if you look on Indeed.com, you will find about 1 trillion jobs. Everyone is hiring because nobody can find good workers. that are dependable and faithful. You want to be dependable, you want to be faithful, you want to be a good worker. There are amazing jobs out there for you. Start applying. Maybe it's time for you to get a new job. Maybe it's time for you to be in a new relationship. Maybe it's time for something new. Maybe it's time for a new house. Maybe it's time for a new career. Maybe it's time for new friends. Maybe you got some friends that don't mean you any stinking good. Maybe it's time for some new friends. Maybe you need to get around the company that you've been keeping. Maybe you need to get some friends that encourage you. Maybe it's time. Have you been having lots of problems with the friends that you have? Have you just like tried and called them and just nothing gets better? Maybe God is showing you it's time to get some new friends. Maybe it's time to get a new job. Maybe it's time to move. Maybe it's time to have that baby. Have you been dreaming of writing a book and God's just pressuring you to write that book? Maybe it's time. That's for me. My whole life, God has said, write that book. And I've been like, God, do I really have something to say? Will people really listen? Will this? And the enemy, of course, just talks down to me and tells me that what I have to say, nobody's going to listen, whatever. But God has been on me. Write that book, Ashleydawn. You have a calling on your life. Write that book. So I'm writing that book because it is time. I've been single for a good bit. It is time for me to be single. I'm not trying to change that. Honestly, I'm not. I do have a lot of trust issues and I do have walls and I am very guarded. Prior relationships can be thanked for that. But I'm just realizing God has so much for me in this single season, that I need to be single. It is time for me to be single. In time, if He shows that a man is respectful and kind and thoughtful and all the things that I'm going to need him to be, because there is a heavy calling on my life and I need a man that can not only carry me as I carry the calling, but can inspire me and encourage me with that calling, that can be patient, that can be all those things. And in time, if he proves himself, when it's right, it will happen, but not a day before and not a day after. And so right now it is time for me to be single. Why do you say that? Well, because every relationship I've been in, I've been uncomfortable in. I've brought more to the table than they have. I've had more to offer than they have. Well, Ashleydawn, that sounds kind of conceited. No, it sounds kind of honest. When you look at what you're bringing to a relationship, you look at what you're bringing to the table. Okay, you go to a Thanksgiving meal and that table is set and there is every kind of food, every kind of bread, every kind of drink, every kind of thing. You can honestly say that that table is full. Well, when I go to a relationship, that table is so full you can hardly put nothing else on that table. So if I'm bringing everything to that table, why do I need anybody else? If some gentleman comes into my life, or maybe is already in my life and is proving himself, and brings more to that table, or pops them leaves on that table and says, baby, there's more. Have you ever been in a table that has the leaves? The table gets bigger. I need a man that when he comes into my life, my table gets bigger. Not that he crowds the table that I already have. Not that he takes things off of my table that I already have. He makes my table bigger. Because I want to have a ministry together that is so big that it kills the enemy on sight. It's got that kill shot. We wake up in the morning, we start praying, bam, enemy's down for the day. That's the kind of relationship I want. And here's the deal. I'm not going to settle for less than that. And here, y'all, I have settled. I have settled a lot. But you know what? Something about God, He won't let me settle. I start settling and I start being like, well, this is good. Well, this is enough. And God's like, oh, not my baby. That ain't enough for my baby. My baby needs more than that, right? And my dad's peeking his little head in to say, not my baby. My baby deserves more than that. My baby deserves more than that. God says that about you. His baby, you. You could be a boy. You could be his baby boy, his son, his daughter, whatever. God has more for you, and He will not let you settle. He refuses to let you settle. Things that you're like, oh, this is fine. God's like, no, it ain't. Stop saying it's fine. No, it ain't. It is not fine. I have more for you. Ephesians 3:20. I have more than you can ask, think, dream, or imagine. Nuh-uh. Nope, that's not enough. You say, oh, that's enough. God, I don't need that much. No, it's not enough. It is not enough. God has so much for you. Stop trying to take the bare minimum. God doesn't want his children walking around with the bare minimum. He doesn't want you in a relationship where that person isn't even meeting you halfway. They're making you go the whole way and barely showing up. It's time. What is it time for in your life? Are you pregnant? Are you having a baby? Are you pregnant with a dream or an idea that God is pushing into fruition? Is it time for you to buy a house? Is it time for you to get a new car? Is your check engine light on? Mine is. But you know what? I'm going to rock this baby out. 1, because I don't have money for a new car. And 2, again, I don't have money for a new car. So I'm going to pray over this baby and I'm going to rock this little baby out. But what is it time for in your life? What is it time for? What is God telling you it's time? What is he pushing you out of the nest of saying, now fly? Only you can answer that. I don't know your life. Maybe you've been struggling with addiction and you're, praying and praying and praying, and God's like, okay, it's time for you to get over it. It's time for you to put that addiction in the past. It's time for you to go to rehab. It's time for you to sign up for a program. Maybe, you've carried betrayal and hurt and resentment. It's time to sign up for counseling. What is it time for in your life? What is God saying it's time for in your life? A lot of times he'll make us uncomfortable. The pressure will just get too big and will pop. Kind of like a pimple. And you're saying, Ashleydawn, you say gross stuff in your videos all the time. Listen, I'm real. I have pimples, you have pimples, we all got pimples. And what happens when that pimple just gets so full and there's just so much pressure in there? It pops. Are you ready to pop? Is your life ready to pop? Are you just so frustrated and so just done with everything? You are ready to pop? Maybe there's a reason. You know what happens when a pimple pops? The bacteria is released and it's not in that pore anymore. And then what? And then your skin starts healing. Maybe God's trying to take the bacteria out of your life. Maybe God's trying to take the poison out of your life. What is he telling you doesn't belong? Is it a relationship? Is it a job? Is it a house that the housing situation isn't good? Do you have a roommate that has really been grinding your gears and you just need to get away from? Do you live in an apartment or a duplex and your next door neighbor's driving you nuts? Maybe there's pressure there because you need to go somewhere. Maybe there's pressure there because it's time for you to fly. Maybe there's pressure there because that pimple is ready to pop. Maybe there's pressure there because you need to go to the bathroom and you need to release whatever's up in there that shouldn't be. Listen, I'm real. This is getting real. You don't have to watch my videos if you don't want to, but I'm glad that you do. But seriously, what is God telling you it's time for in your life? Pray and ask God to reveal that to you today. I'm going to be praying and asking God to reveal it to me. I know a couple things, but I know that this season in my life is gonna be a good one, and he's gonna bring a lot of new stuff, a lot of new people, a lot of new opportunities in my life. It's time. It's time for me, and it's time for you. I love you. You are seen. You are celebrated. You are loved, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't feel worthy of it. He loves you regardless. I'll catch you in the next one.